Hello everybody, Stewart A. Swerdlow here for Expansions.com.
And Janet Swerdlow.
And this is our news podcast for the beginning of the second week of December 2013. And as you can see, it's lovely weather outside. Oh, the weather outside is frightful. But we don't have a fire that's delightful.
You could, if you started the fireplace, you could have.
I could do that. It's cold even in the house. It's freezing cold, and
you like the cold.
I know, but even I'm freezing cold. See, and I'll tell you what. It's so cold in the United States that in Montana this morning it was minus 47 Fahrenheit with a wind chill of minus 64. People, I'm not making that up. You can look it up online. So, global warming? I don't think so.
It's cold here. I think we're about 19 with wind chills about
Fahrenheit,
9. Fahrenheit, and with wind chills about 9 here.
Fahrenheit. You have to go, because most of these people do not understand
But you're saying
Fahrenheit.
that enough so that they figure that out.
Well, they can't figure out. They're not too bright.
Well,
so they have to. It's like minus 10 centigrade with the wind chill of like minus 25 or something like that. Anyway. Snow from Texas to New England, snow from Rockies to the Great Lakes. It's just an ice age coming, people. And whether they admit it or not, and whether they want to deny it or not, the Earth has been cooling since 1988. We were in a warm spell for the last couple of hundred years, and now it's over. And so the Russian scientists are right. Ice age is coming. Here it is, and there it is. All right, my next story, which is the big story of the week, of course, and that is the death of Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Okay, he was 95 years old, almost a century, nothing to cry about. He lived a very, very long time. But here's the issue, and I think you posted it on Facebook.
You posted it on Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook.
But you shared it on my Facebook site.
I did something like that. I go into a Facebook altar, and then I don't know where I'm posting. Did you know, people, this hero that they're praising was on the United States terrorist list until 1997 or 98. He was only removed by George Bush Jr. in the late 90s. So his organization, the ANC, the African National Congress, was considered by the United States and European countries to be a terrorist organization, very much like we consider Al-Qaeda to be today.
Now, weren't they the organization that they would take the rubber tires and put it over people?
And burn them.
And pour gasoline on it
and
burn them inside the rubber tires.
During the 1980s, Mandela supported the terrorist bombings throughout South Africa that killed many, many, many people. One of whom was a pregnant woman who lost her child as well. And I have posted, I think on the Facebook, a video of Nelson Mandela with his ANC people singing a song in his African Bota language, or whatever you pronounce it, about killing white people. Yes, let's go celebrate his life, of how wonderful he was.
It'll be interesting to have the South Africans out there to write in and give us your comments, please.
I would like to get comments, please, from South African, black or white, I don't care what color you are. I want to know what you think of him. But you know what? He sang songs about killing white people. So does that make him better than the people who supported apartheid? And I'm not a supporter of apartheid, and what happened in South Africa wasn't right either. But what he did wasn't either correct. And the government of South Africa after him, or during his, was completely corrupt. We know Winnie Mandela was arrested, I think, for murder charges. You know, people, you have to start looking at that stuff.
Well, it really all has to do with dividing the people based on race and whatever side they want to fuel, and again, going and changing history.
Nelson Mandela also was a supporter of the PLO and Yasser Arafat before they were recognized as legitimate, and he supported them and their terrorist explosions in the Middle East and all over the world. And we have videos and photographs of that. So let's see what happens in South Africa now that he's gone, and no one has to answer to him or tell him what they're doing. Let's see what happens in South Africa right now.
Well, they'll probably just create a new public icon of some kind.
Well, I'm talking about violence and other things. Let's see what's going to happen. Speaking of violence, to another part of the world. The Ukraine, or Ukraine as they call it now. A lot of protests going on since November. Rioting in the street today or yesterday. They knocked over a Lenin statue. That's a big one.
That was your cousin or your uncle's roommate.
No, Stalin was that.
Oh, not
Lenin. Ukraine also named the city of Sverdlovsk. In the eastern part of Ukraine, there's a city of Sverdlovsk as well. Now, why is this happening? Because the people of Ukraine want to become closer to the EU and even join the EU, but the government of Ukraine said no, they want to stay close to Russia, and because remember, Ukraine was a former Soviet republic. And so there's, of course, I am sure Putin and his people there are maybe forcing the government of Ukraine to back away from the EU. Not that I'm a supporter of the EU either, because I don't see it doing any good for anyone in Europe. It's a bunch of malarkey, and it's fake. The people in Europe hate each other, and they should not be under one umbrella. Now, remember, I've reported many times that Russia made a deal with Ukraine several years ago to station Russian troops there for the next 25 years. And we also know that Russia and Ukraine have many oil and gas deals, and Russia doesn't want to lose that. Remember, it is the Russians who tell the Ukrainians to shut off the gas and oil supplying Europe in the winter time when it's cold like this, and they tell them to shut it off so that they get more money, or blackmail some European countries, whatever they're doing. So it's just a big scam. I think the Ukrainian people should look at both Russia and the EU and say, okay, maybe we don't need either one of them. Maybe we just need to be independent, like Iceland.
Well, remember on my monthly blog, I am talking about discernment, truth or con. And of course, a lot of the cons that are going on out there have to do with what the global handlers are perpetuating upon the public in every single country. So you want to be sure to be able to use your tools of discernment so that you can decide for yourself what's happening besides what we are telling you.
Yeah, but still listen to me anyway.
Yeah, back to me.
Yeah, back to you. What do you got?
Got a lot of interesting things going on here.
A lot more than I did, I guess.
I do, and I even had to get rid of some of my stories. I had so many stories to choose from.
I get rid of some of my stories. Go ahead.
First thing I want to bring up is about Amazon revealing that it wants to deploy delivery drones. Now, did you read that story?
Is that where they lift the boxes up and drop them at your house?
Well, I think they like knock on your door or something and you get it from a drone. And of course they're saying, well, it's not.
That?
Well, that's the point. Because the first thing when people heard about drones, what did they say?
I don't know.
How awful. They're watching me, remember? Now,
because they were going to shoot people.
Well, no, they're just watching people, and they showed drones watching, the parades and these kind of things.
Yes.
So everybody said, oh, drones are horrible. So now, how do they get people to accept them?
By delivering packages.
Wonderful things that you order in the mail direct. You don't have to wait for the postal service. You can get a drone at your door with your packages like immediately.
Maybe the drone can even deliver a sex bot.
Oh, Stewart.
Well, they had that. Woody Allen had that in his movies.
I believe that Woody Allen is a pervert.
That's not right.
And
just because he slept with a 15 or 16-year-old?
And
What's the matter with you?
a pedophile. So I am no fan of Woody Allen's.
Picky.
So anyway, they have a program out there now to get you to accept drones because you're going to order stuff from drones and you're going to think it's fantastic.
I would order stuff just to have a drone come and deliver it.
Well, you see? So you're against drones and you already want it.
No, because I want to see, I saw that one in Russia that I had the picture.
Yeah, but it wasn't delivering anything of it. It was taking your picture and
Yeah.
following you around.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so you like that?
No, but I just like to have one in my driveway and maybe capture it.
I'm not going to comment. Next story. The first person in the world to become a government-recognized cyborg. Now, I reported on this story some time back. Neil Harbison is actually the first person who had a reason to have the Google Glass Eye on.
Why is his reason?
Because he was born so that he didn't see things in color, only shades of gray. So he actually had this implanted in his head so that he could see a variety of colors and sound waves. So anyway, now on his UK passport, it actually says that he is a cyborg.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Now I want you to remember that also in Germany on passports they now have, or birth certificates, but of course if it's on a birth certificate it's got to be on a passport, that they can choose 3 sexes.
What's the third one?
I don't know what they call it over there, but basically it's intersex.
Ah.
Now intersex, if you remember, is what we wrote about in True Reality of Sexuality, and we tell you we're always ahead of the trends. So if you haven't read True Reality of Sexuality, you need to read that one as well. And I did see this on the internet this last week about a woman who, well, let me put it this way, a person who was raised as a female until she was about 12, 13 years old. She knew she couldn't have children, she knew that she wasn't going to menstruate, but I guess maybe with everything that's going on out there, her parents told her that she was actually an intersex child. Now this is the first time I have heard that word, intersex. They're using a bunch of different words to describe sexuality these days. But this is the first time that I've actually heard that on the internet, you know, just a general casual conversational story, that this woman is an intersex person. And remember, True Reality of Sexuality, I told you about that, and I've been telling you about this on and off. But anyway, back to this person. So now Neil Harbison is going to be a cyborg according to his UK passport, and he's also going to make more changes to integrate more of his own body motions, it's said. So I found that interesting, and also I reported back in July of 2012 about Steve Mann, who is considered the father of wearable computing, who was physically assaulted while visiting a McDonald's in Paris. Do you remember that story? Yeah, back in over a year ago. But the point is that this is becoming more accepted. Now, this is also being considered a big step forward for people who believe in transhumanism, or as we say, transhumanism. They're in a trance, and this is what they're doing.
Yeah, it sounds like an episode of Doctor Who.
Or how about who are the Borg? Was that Star Trek? So all these things, you know, again, they're having people ask for it. They're not forcing anything on anybody, and that's the point I always want to make. Now, on the heels of the cyborg person, we have a lawsuit that was actually filed in New York to recognize the legal personhood of a chimpanzee.
That would do my family.
No, this is actually the petitioner is a non-profit group called Non-Human Rights Project. They want the New York State Court to declare a 26-year-old chimp named Tommy, quote, a cognitively complex, autonomous legal person with a fundamental legal right not to be imprisoned. Because apparently he's been used for animal research.
I see.
So the way they want to get him out of that is to call him a legal person.
Well, I've known a lot of people who are like chimpanzees.
But the point being, again, is that they're legal. They're taking animals out of an animal status and raising them to human status.
Didn't I tell you? They're animal people.
Which will affect your food source, because you're not going to want to eat these people.
Well, I wouldn't eat a chimpanzee anyway.
Well, no, but there are countries who do.
Now, if they had cow people, that would might have a problem.
Well, but they've got all that coming down the pipe.
Or a chicken person.
They've got all of that coming out there for people because they want you not to eat flesh foods, because that's what you need for your body.
What if I said there was a grasshopper person? Then they couldn't eat insects either.
You remember that a long time ago, when we had a feudal system in existence, only the royalty could eat meat. Even if you lived on that land, if you hunted on that land and you killed something, you could go to prison or be killed, because that game legally belonged to the lord or the lady or the king or the queen or whatever of that land. So they're going back to those times when the average person cannot have flesh foods, only royalty. And we talked a little bit about those kind of things last podcast. Now, this also I want to tell you about. There was a report, and I put this on my Facebook page, of a woman who married a Ferris wheel.
Really?
Really. And of course I told you before about people who've married dead people, even in France, going back to France again. So a lot of these things are coming up to make you, again, not know who and what you are. Are you human? Are you a robot? You know, are you an animal?
I'd like to see what their children look like.
A higher being? I don't know. And then I also told you that there is going to be a time, the next thing that people are going to say is okay, has to do with bestiality. Now there is an art display right now where it has a man, it's a painting of a man having sex with a goat, and they're saying that this is like normal. And the other thing I've noticed, which you may have too, it's pretty hard not to
Maybe just
notice
has an
this.
ugly girlfriend.
No, this is definitely a goat. It was laying on its back with all four legs in the air, and the man was standing with his private parts.
I've seen women like that.
Yeah, well, this was a man and a goat. So anyway, the other thing I've noticed is there's a lot of frontal nudity going on. You know, they still have, you know...
So they've seen my new website.
They still have hands in certain places, of course, but it's all frontal and more about women. And, well, I might as well go ahead and tell you this story as long as we're here. Because it's also interesting. You might have seen this one posted about vaginal knitting.
Who?
Vaginal knitting.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
There is a woman who has some kind of art display right now. She's on display where you go watch her knit. She's sitting on a box. Every day she takes one skein of yarn and she puts it up her vagina. And then she starts pulling it out, and she's knitting this long scarf. And she's calling it...
Out of her vagina.
Out of her vagina. She's calling it knitting from my womb. Or creating from my womb, something like that. Now...
I think she needs medication.
Interesting, when I was doing a little bit of research on this. First, two things. The first thing is she doesn't even stop when she menstruates. It's a 28-day long process. So during this time, she is having her menstrual cycle, and she's knitting her menstrual, you know, the menstrual covered yarn in with the rest of the scarf. Okay, when I was looking this up, there are biblical phrases about being knit in the womb, which makes me think this is some kind of a programming trigger. So if you look up that phrase on Google, knit in the womb, you're going to find quite a few references in the Bible about this. So my feeling is that they're trying to trigger people. So let me go back to where I was.
I don't know where you find these things, Janae.
Oh, it's amazing what's going on out there in this world. Okay, well...
Well, you're not going to knit like that, are you?
Well, I was thinking about having you bend over and knit it from another part of your body.
Ooh.
Every day.
That's private. I told you not to tell people.
Your private parts.
That's
every
private.
Day,
I'm not listening.
We could stick a skein of knitting yarn up your tushy, and you could knit with it. Anyway.
Maybe I have done that.
Well, why do you think I'm bringing it up? Anyway, a couple more along the same line, which again, it's just because it's out there right now. Lady Gaga, of course, she does crazy things. Anyway, she poses nude for Candy magazine, and there's a bunch of pictures on her. Two things I found interesting about this. They said Candy magazine prides itself on being the first transversal style magazine. Now, I looked up transversal because I haven't heard that one before. I remembered the trans is like trance, you know. And I could not get a good definition on transversal, so maybe you can do that. Maybe there's a lot of math definitions, which when things are intersecting and they're, you know, I guess not this or not that, I'm not sure. But if you have a good definition for transversal, let us know. Anyway, one of the things that she had in this particular cover was her left breast was covered with a huge, about this big, black scorpion.
Ooh.
No, it's not a live scorpion, as some people may have. This one was a big black one. Maybe it was made of plastic or something. But as we know, scorpion is a sexual programming trigger, not always used in the best of vein. So...
Why are you looking at me when you said that?
Well, aren't you a quadruple Scorpio?
Yes,
okay,
but I'm a good Scorpio.
Well, we are also, there are always two sides of everything, so let's hope you're a good Scorpio. And we've talked about the scorpion people that are like, or whatever they were, that originally in the water, that was like 6-9 feet long. They have found those exoskeletons and fossils.
In my bedroom they found that.
But apparently here, I'm sure she's using it to trigger people. Then now we've talked about marital affairs and the polyamory and all this stuff now is being touted, and the new way of being married, you know, all the different people, whoever you want, basically. Well, now this is another one. This is a 65-year-old man who spent most of his life being a porn star, it says, with his wife's blessing. Because, you know,
At 65?
Well, this was talking about his life. He actually wrote a book. His name is Howie Gordon, and he wrote a book about his life as a porn actor. And, you know, you used to never see this stuff in conventional news. Now, the porn stuff is all over conventional news, but he did it because his wife wanted him to, because he said he was married and everything was fine. But he was an actor, I guess, and he said he wanted to have a sexual experience that had nothing to do with love or relationship, you know, just sex for sex. I wanted some sex as recreation, and I wanted one of those bad girls. So anyway, It said his first job offer actually came via his wife because they were both acting students in California. The call came in, and he answered the phone and said that the agent said it was a fun filled romp through a hospital. So when the wife asked, "Is it a porno film?" and the man said, "Yes, it is," but so he wasn't interested. She said, "Yes, you know, go ahead and do this. You should do this." So at the time he was married.
Wife.
He was only 29 years old. He said he went from working a construction job for $5 an hour to getting a blow job in 1977.
What's your language on
for $200. So anyway, again, this is how they're making everything mainstream and accepted.
By the way, I had that offer the other day.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for your permission.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen.
No? For that much
I didn't know
money?
you had to have my permission.
You're right, I don't know.
You just do whatever you want,
That's right, I'm just going to do
yeah,
it.
you just do whatever you want. That's what we know.
That's it.
Anyway, and on the heels of that, I wanted to tell you, I've noticed also on Facebook that there's some kind of a site out there now. It's called Earth Porn. And again, this is another way. It's pictures of the world, how beautiful it is. So they're taking pornography, which is really about debasing humanity, and they're trying to put that up into making it something really wonderful by showing you pictures of the earth. So they take one frequency, they intertwine it with another frequency, and you don't know what's going on. So I thought that was all interesting. So on to other more salient things. Seahawks. Now, we're not big sports fans, but a lot of people out there are. The Seahawks fans actually are said to have caused a minor earthquake during their victory over the Saints. I don't know if I believe that, do you?
They were just jumping up and down.
Yeah, but they claim that the seismic activity was recorded as between a 1 to 2 range, and they claim it was from all this activity. Now, as we know, Seattle is actually built on a slog, a bog. You know, it's
built on the old remnants of the Lahar from like 300 years ago.
Yes, so it is very unstable territory for a variety of reasons. But interesting that they're recording it during a Seahawks game, which can very well have to do with ritual. Because they also talked about this happened once before in 2011, which was coincidentally also a Saints game. And now this was a telling thing to me because it said, and in 1988, college fans in Louisiana State University rocked the Bayou in a come-from-behind victory over 4th-ranked Auburn, registering on the campus seismograph. And we all know what happened to Louisiana, right? It was the same kind of geographic location, and it went into the ocean.
Well, it's going.
Or the Gulf, I should say. So, that's right, it's moving. And the same thing now is basically, in my opinion, they're telling you about Seattle. Okay, now we're going to go off-world, and we're going to look at the moon. Because on the moon, there's now a research group that's funded by NASA that says they're going to put a moon garden for the first time, hopefully beginning in about 2015, if they can get the total funding for that. They said that the moon is now known to have water, so why couldn't it support plants? And that means that if we can support plants, it can support off-world life.
I guess the reptilians left some of their bathwater.
I guess. So anyway, so that's happening up on the moon soon, 2015. Now back down to the world. We have a story here that Canada wants to claim the North Pole.
Really?
Now, we've been doing quite a bit of traveling to the North Pole and the South Pole and seen a lot of stuff and heard a lot of stories, which we've told a lot of people about. This one says that according to the Globe and the Mail, Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper has instructed officials to include the North Pole in the country's upcoming Arctic claims submission to the United Nations.
Oh, yeah.
Countries must submit their proposals to the UN Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf to request an extension of their nautical borders. Currently, under international law, Canada, Denmark, Norway, Russia, and the U.S., which are the 5 countries with territories near the Arctic Circle, are allotted 200 nautical miles from their northern coast. However, Canada wants to go further than that and actually claim the North Pole. Now, of course, in this, they're claiming it's because of the natural resources, which, you know, you and I have talked about. There are other reasons when we talk about the entrances to the inner Earth. So anyway, I don't think this is going to happen, but the fact that it's in the news and they're talking about it means something's going to happen. We just don't quite know what yet.
Canada wants to claim a big hole at the top of the world.
That's the way it is right
Good
now.
going, Canada,
Yeah.
because you don't have enough problems to begin with.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Maybe you need to stop tasering people at the airport first.
Did that happen to you?
Almost.
So, anyway, with that, I want to also remind people our January class is coming up, our week-long January class, which is phenomenal, the things that you will learn. Hyperspace Oversoul Basics, Tools and Techniques. You get to learn what we know, and we are going to help you figure out what you know and build upon it.
I am thinking of adding a section of knitting.
Yeah? All right, well, we're going to film that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to film that. What I want to know is what you're going to use for a knitting needle.
That's why they have to come and see. That's why I'm a Scorpion. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. And I want to also let you know we do have a date for our New York City appearance, which will be March 14th.
We have a New York City appearance? Is it on Broadway?
Close.
Ah! I made it to the big time.
Made it to the big time. March 14, so we'll have more details on that. We'll be doing a lecture and also personal consultations there during that weekend.
Okay. Maybe we even get to eat pizza and bagels and...
We don't eat that stuff.
Yeah, that's true, we don't. So what the heck?
Maybe we'll find a scorpion or something. You eat that?
No. Those are my people.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No.
Because we're talking about knitting needles, you go, that's my pee. Okay. Paul.
No, but, you know, I bet in New York if we did that knitting act, we would have quite a crowd.
I bet you would. And you'll probably be in an art gallery.
And they would help join in and knit for us.
Oh, I'm sure in New York City you'd find a lot of people. You probably get like a whole thing going, like one of those mob things when they stand up and start doing things together. You could probably get that going.
I'm gonna look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Anything else?
Anything else? Well, we are making our 2014 plans, yes? Oh, yeah, because in May, what's happening in May 2014? Or is that too far away to...
No, you can tell them.
I was invited back to Russia to do seminars there. Yeah?
And we also, there's a chance toward the end of the year, the end of the summer, we may be in Poland. We're not sure.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, you did.
No,
All the Polish
I didn't know
interviews.
when.
Yeah. We talked about that.
So next summer?
Well, 2014.
Ah.
That's a possibility.
Okay.
So that's all possibilities.
Ooh, kielbasa and...
And we have a Polish publisher looking at some of our books.
They are?
They are. We have the Russian publisher who has done Blue Blood looking at your next upcoming one. We have the Japanese publisher who did Blue Blood looking at your next one.
See, I didn't know any of this
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, you did.
You never tell me anything.
I tell you, you just don't listen.
All I hear about knitting from my butt.
No, that's because that's what interests you the most.
Yeah,
but this
that's
is also
true. That is true.
important. Yeah. So anyway, the new book, Humanity's True World History, Humanity's Saga, we had hoped to have out mid-December, but the index is very lengthy. So we're kind of a little bit of a snag there.
So now it's a delay.
It's a bit of a delay. We're looking now for mid-January.
What? That's like a month delay.
That's a month delay, but that's where we are right now. So, anything else?
Well, it gives me time to put my chapter in, different things.
Or to figure out how to get your yarn stuck up where you want it to go. Alrighty, you got anything else to tell them?
Not that I could put on the air.
Well, I don't know that I want to hear it once we're off the air.
You will hear it. Yeah.
I'm going to get some yarn and put it in my ears.
Well, you can make
No, that's enough. We'll see you next time.
Bye.